So joining us now to break down the rise of the new technology is Kris Ruby. She's the president of the PR and social media agency, the Ruby Media Group. So, Kris, when we look at this new app, it's something that, people may not know about it yet. It is kind of rising for the first time. It's invite-driven right now, but it's also coming with a lot of excitement. So can you try to explain exactly what it is?
Sure, Alex. So nice to be back with you. So Clubhouse has actually just surpassed over 10 million users and app downloads, which is really incredible if you look at the trajectory of their growth in such a short period of time. So what is Clubhouse? Clubhouse is an audio-only social media app that is certainly taking the industry and the world at storm and has launched internationally as well. So basically, it is, think about Instagram or an Instagram story, except it's audio only, and you can't actually see anyone. So what's interesting about Clubhouse is that you are basically being rewarded for your intellectual contribution to a conversation versus how you look, which is a major difference that from other social media platforms up until now that we've seen with Clubhouse.
And in fact, you and I have participated in a Clubhouse talking about Clubhouse, which is kind of an inception type of situation. But I think that one thing, too, that makes it unique is that it's kind of one of those more long form type of things. You know, people have conversations like you and I are having right now compared to dunking on each other in, 200 and whatever characters on Twitter or something like that. So I think that is what makes it different. And that's something that I think a lot of people like right now. I mean, we talk about kids, for example, always being on their devices. It's very stimulating, quick pace. But there is also a movement that goes back to podcasts, for example, or Clubhouse, something where you can get a more long-form type of conversation. So along this, there's also been some criticisms as well. Can you kind of break down those? Because I've seen a lot of articles about Clubhouse and how there are concerns about misinformation or something like that. Have you seen that as well?
Sure. I mean, so there's concerns on Clubhouse about quote unquote unfettered conversations as one. There's concerns, another concern about Clubhouse really dismantling the traditional media landscape in terms of gatekeepers and having to go through traditional PR firms and journalists to have access to people. With Clubhouse, that's really circumventing all of that. And so I think there's a lot of industries that are sort of up in arms about what to do with this right now. And they're saying, well, if our clients or people are going directly to Clubhouse, why do they need us? It's a really great question to consider. Why do they need you? If Clubhouse can disrupt these industries so fast, then maybe we have to relook at what the model is of the media landscape and adapt to that, for sure. And so the final question here, of course, is over privacy in Clubhouse. When you first download the Clubhouse app, they ask for access to your entire address book and contacts. So you can certainly opt out to do that. But I think a lot of users don't understand what that really means. They're wondering, is Clubhouse getting access to all of my contacts on their servers? Where is that going? Is someone recording this audio? Does China have a copy of this? Over the weekend, there were concerns that possibly the Clubhouse rooms were leaked and hacked. So, of course, these are real concerns. And I do tell people anything you say on Clubhouse, just assume that someone is listening, someone is recording it, and it can be leaked.
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson for all of social media. I mean, if you're going to utilize it in any way, you have to assume that at some point they're taking your data, at some point they're taking your conversations, something like that. But I'm really glad that you used the word unfettered because that has been something that's become a little bit of a running joke. It was a New York Times article that was taking issue with the fact that there was free dialogue taking place on this app. But I think I interrupted you there. Did you want to add to that point?
Well, so the fact that there is free dialogue taking place on the app is actually what makes the app so interesting and great. So I will say there's a club I created on Clubhouse called Republicans and Conservatives. We now have over 4,500 members or followers, sorry, on that club. And sure, I'm sure we certainly have unfettered conversations. That's good. That is a good thing for America. The goal of that club is to have people from both sides, not only Republicans, there's actually a lot of Democrats that, hop on stage when we do meet every Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And sometimes we'll go for 6 hours having these conversations. And so far, no one's been canceled. There's been no hit pieces in terms of journalism written on anyone. And there's a ton of media, reporters, pundits, politicians who come to that room every Saturday night. And I think that's pretty refreshing. I think unfettered conversations are actually a great thing.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I love argument and debate, so maybe I'm biased about this, but I think that it's something that a lot of other people like too. I mean, they want to make up their own mind. They want to see the conversation, the different arguments that are made on both sides of a certain issue, and make up their own mind based on the facts. And, you bring something up. Jack Posobiec actually had a tweet, one of my colleagues, that I thought was exactly spot on, saying that 6 hours of conversation, substantive conversation, by the way, too. It's not just everybody applauding themselves or anything like that. No hit pieces, no know anything like that because you get the context. You can't clip something and make that the conversation, or you can't take a quote out of context as much because there are other people listening in the room, and also there's context provided to the arguments that people are making. And over the past couple of days, I've been in your room that you're talking about, the group, and I've seen some big names. Jack is one of them, but also Matt Gaetz, the FCC chairman, was on just yesterday talking about One America News as well on Clubhouse, but we also had Tammy Bruce, Lara Logan. Is that also what's really great about this, is that people can have a conversation with people that they traditionally just see on television, but now they get to be interactive, part of that conversation?
Certainly, that's part of the magic of it. And I think the other magic here with Clubhouse is the notion of serendipitous conversations. You could go from having 3 people in a room to suddenly you have 1,200 people in a room. And to Jack's point to that tweet, we hosted him in the club, and he was on there for 6 hours talking about China and the culture war. And really nothing bad was written or tweeted about that. And so I replied to that tweet and I said, I have one rule in my club. And that rule is that you are innocent until proven guilty. And the challenge that I see with social media society today is that everyone is guilty until proven innocent. And so, of course, I've already taken some heat in terms of these conversations or people that I allow in the room. And my point is, come into the room, judge for yourself. Listen to what someone has to say instead of Googling someone and making a decision on that person. And if more people in the world did that before judging people, I think the world would be a better place.
I mean, there's no doubt. And there's one example, actually, that I think demonstrates that perfectly. The other day in your room, you had a Uyghur refugee who was kind of talking about the situation there, about how he left China and he can no longer contact his daughter, who is still there, and how the CCP there is turning his family members against him, saying that he left as some type of radical or something like that, just kind of distorting the narrative of what happened. And so not only getting his perspective in that room was really interesting, but someone who came into the room who was also skeptical about the Republicans and conservatives, for example. I think they maybe thought that they would come in there being more adversarial, but they heard the conversation taking place and found common ground when it comes to speaking out against what's happening to the Uyghurs in China. So does that kind of wrap up exactly what you're talking about, the idea that this app not only has an opportunity for dialogue, but also to change people's minds to some degree?
I think that it absolutely does. When you put instead of a face behind the avatar, when you put a voice behind the avatar, something really different changes the dynamic of that. And my goal with this, at least in the rooms that I'm moderating on there, within the Republican and Conservative Club, I also have another group on there as well. But the goal is to teach people how to coexist. You know, Trump was all about let's make America great again. In my rooms, my goal is to make America okay again. Can we just be okay? Can we exist together? It doesn't mean you have to like each other. It doesn't mean you have to agree with each other. Doesn't mean you have to be Republican or Democrat. It means you have to learn how to live amongst each other without hating each other. And really, that's why I started the room. And you've been in there, Alex, when you've heard me say, if anyone disagrees with what the people on stage are saying, if you're a Democrat, come on stage. We want to hear what you have to say. And that's happened, and people are like really surprised that there's not crazy fighting going on. But I think all of that is in moderation, the moderation of the room, the tone that you set.
I think you're exactly right. And, you know, Kris, before I let you go, too, this weekend is CPAC. I know a lot of conservatives are planning to go to that, but a lot also just want to participate in a way if they can't make it, whether that be virtually, anything like that. Are you utilizing the room for anything for CPAC this weekend?
Yes. So this weekend, if you are going to CPAC, or even if you're not and you're staying home, we are hosting a virtual shoot your shot CPAC after party, which is for conservatives to go on Clubhouse at 8 p.m. within the club, meet someone for whether it's personal, networking, or even your business. We want to be a solution to the ecosystem of raising up different conservative voices and their businesses as well, and even personally. So join us. And I believe you will be co-hosting that with me on Saturday night. Is that correct, Alex?
I'll be there, and I know that there's other people who might even be speakers at CPAC who are trying to make sure that their schedule is open so that they can exit the stage there and take the stage on Clubhouse. Ironically enough, actually, they're both called stages. But Kris Ruby, it's a real pleasure having you on this program tonight. Thank you for breaking down this app Clubhouse, because it's rising right now, and I know a lot of people who are watching at home may be on Clubhouse in a couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you.
And still ahead.